Okay. So you don't have to watch all the parts to this. You'll see several parts to Scott Tells All, but they don't really necessarily go in order. So you could pick up any of these, like this one, and just see how I'm deconstructing my suffering for everybody, just opening you up to my internal experience and how I've processed that through the years. But it could be cool to go back and see all of those. You're going to really get to know me, everything about me. But more importantly, maybe you'll get to see how this path works and why we developed 3D inquiry. So this is going to be about coming out of repression. This is my second, this is my current relationship here. I talked about my first marriage in one of the other videos. Here in this relationship, I'm coming out of repression, right? In the beginning of it. So I was telling you about that. And I was telling you about before, while I was still in repression, what that was like. And there's suffering there, chronic pain and disconnection. And we just weren't meeting each other in anger or at all when there's repression in those moments of dispute. Because our relationship otherwise is really good, actually. Just long periods of it's good. But there are issues. See, I'm going to talk about those. So when I started to come out of repression, it was a different potential trigger. Then the trigger wasn't coming from, I have to hold the anger back. From time to time that came up again, but it was more like, what used to be a trigger for me just simply became a process. Whereas before, I might have been triggered into some response, like shut down, identity, go quiet, bully from the quietness. That's the trigger, is not opening to emotion. So I'd carry that around, see, not opening to the anger. But when I started to open to the anger directly and immediately in the face of a trigger, everything started to change. Not only did my pain start to heal, but our relationship started to change as I began to express that emotion. Change, meaning more honest, eventually more vulnerable. That there was a little bit of snag in that because vulnerability is his repression. But I couldn't be vulnerable before that. Not really, because remember, when there's repression, it's fake vulnerability because you're feeling safer emotions. It's just a safe thing when you're an anger repressor. So that's the trigger before. Coming out of repression, a lot of times it's not a trigger. It's just feel, express anger. The trigger was not opening to the anger. See that? And carrying it. So I just stopped carrying things around at all. And so the pain wasn't carrying around the anger. So the pain left. And I wasn't carrying around the anger. I was feeling and expressing it. Or increasingly, the storage of the anger was diminishing. You could say, over time, I could just see that area just dissolving or transmuting. So I trusted that, right? But even now so how does that look? When I was coming out of repression, if there would be a trigger, it would be immediately to the anger, as I've shown you guys. Immediately to it. Don't go anywhere else, to the fear and the anger that's buried. So I didn't carry any trigger. I haven't had a trigger with Chester for a long time because I just didn't understand that triggers come from unprocessed repression. So now processing the anger, the new triggers would be, at times I became an asshole. It's just part of it. If you've never experienced anger, it's going to be new for you. I mean, real, true conscious anger where, you're not bearing it. You may not have a lot of experience with that. And so you wouldn't know, I didn't know what unprocessed stuff was in that. Sometimes it was just clean. It was like, when I say clean anger, it's like there's a certain level of volume and intensity that someone has, and I have to meet that in order for us to even communicate. If I don't meet you at that level, you don't even hear me, and you might not even respect what I'm saying because you can't hear, and you're trying to hurt me, right? And so if you're trying to hurt me, that's what you want to do. That's what we do in trauma. So I raise the level. See, I know you're trying to hurt me. I'm protecting myself by raising the level, and I want you to hear me. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what meets something in a moment. But where I would go is, see, I perceived that he couldn't go to vulnerability because he couldn't. And then that would make me into an asshole sometimes because there's still that anger playing on that. See? In other words, see if I can express this better. I want to be really clear about this. Yeah, so I'm able to express and feel anger, but I'm noticing that he won't go to vulnerability, and that doesn't feel safe for me to either because he's so angry and I'm angry. So what I learn is there's some processing in that for me still. Here I'm able to feel and express anger, but at certain times, if I can't eventually go to vulnerability, there was something in there to look at, and it was what I call the asshole. We actually have asshole inquiries now for people coming out of repression. It's unprocessed fear, trying to control or change somebody. So along with the anger is some other agenda that you can't even really get to until you come out of repression. It's the asshole agenda. It's like it can be mean or controlling in a particular moment because of some fear or other beliefs in it. Like, I need to control her is there with the anger. So that processing was different than anything before. It was being able to feel and express anger and then finding the fear in it that's in the anger, and then finding the beliefs that might be in the anger and teasing those out so that the anger is cleaner, so that I can also let go of it and then open to something else. Vulnerability. But so Chester, at different times in our relationship, he's had his own issues, just like anybody. And he's at times stopped processing because he's afraid of sadness and hurt. So we got a divorce. And the reason for that is the anger. He couldn't go into vulnerability. We were having this conversation, and I was saying, I can meet you in the anger now, obviously. But we need to go meet somewhere other than that. And he couldn't. And so one day he got really angry and he pushed me. And that was it for me, because I just wanted a relationship in which we can go deeper than that. Right? It's great that I've healed. I've healed this thing within myself. I've healed my pain, but now it's not what I want, is a relationship where we're interacting in our disputes just from anger. I was really wanting to go deeper, and it didn't seem like he could, so I got a divorce. And we didn't talk to each other for about 5 months. I did a lot of processing. We spoke together again, and he started to be in a totally different place. He started to own a lot of stuff. Therapy, 12-step, processing trauma, really insightful. In disputes, he would change how he was talking to me. He would say, I'm hurt and I'm afraid, and his lip would be shaking. And I could see how hard it was for him to say that. And when he would say that, I was just open to him because I knew that he was hurt, but he couldn't share it. And it was so hard for him to share that. And then I went into vulnerability with him, and we connected in a totally different way. And we're together now, but not without our bumps in the road. So, from time to time, any of us can be resistant. I've been resistant at times on the trust issue that I've been sharing with you, and then he's been resistant. So those are the bumps. And just like any relationship, it's work as you go. It's continuing to open to each other and seeing the patterns within ourselves. But what's so great about it now is all my emotions are online. So I'm in a totally different place in all my relationships. And I just show up differently now. Yeah, well, I don't want to talk about how great my life is, though, because I want to deconstruct the triggers. Let me see if there's anything else with Chester. Oh, yeah, there's more to talk about. So he's very attractive, if you haven't seen him. Like, he's 26. And he's been approached by modeling agencies, the porn industry, photographers, and even Hollywood. Famous people. Because he has that look, it's like classic Hollywood, especially if he's a little bit skinnier. You know how Hollywood is. And so, yeah, he's very attractive. And to ask him out on a date, I had to do processing. Because remember, here's another thing. I have to be ugly. I have to be, or at least I thought that. I didn't know that either. That was in the pain, and it had to do with shame and uh, repressing the feminine. See, I can't be pretty or anything like that. I have to be ugly because the girly in me cannot be seen. So that's part of it. Plus, when I was a kid, some of the bullying was around my looks or different things about me. So in order to stay safe, I've had to believe that I'm ugly. And I carry that my whole life. So that makes me attracted to guys that are more attractive to me. That's a shadow. See, I'm fully aware of it. So when I got with him, there was a shadow there. I have to be ugly. You're really attractive. This is going to work to bring my shit up. Let's get together. But to be able even to ask him out, I had to do what you guys are doing, which is I can say and do what I want. Because I'd played a life that was spiritually safe, you know, like I don't go on dating apps and put myself out there, or just safe awareness. I'm not going to get hurt that way. This was different. It's like, I really want to go out with him. I don't think I can ask him out. I can say and do what I want. No. So there was the anger repression. I didn't know it then, but that's what was behind the have to be ugly. That might not make any sense, but let me explain it. See, when people bullied me and I pushed things down, that pissed me off, but I had to bury it. So when I am in the world and there's something that I perceive about myself, that's coming from anger. Any identity would be coming. So if I have to be ugly, it's coming like, I'm fucking pissed for you guys bullying this part of me where I can't be pretty. I can't open to that part of me. I have to be ugly to be safe. I'm mad. See? So the processing of I don't see that anymore. I don't see if I have to be ugly and he's attractive because I process my anger and fear around that identity. I didn't even know it was there. I just wondered, why am I so attracted to him? Oh yeah, he's really attractive and I have to be ugly. Or actually it came up as like, I have to be unattractive. I didn't really always feel ugly. It's just unattractive. And the utilities for that is I have to stay safe and get love. So I have to see myself that way. Well, let me deconstruct a trigger around that then. So he gets all this attention from photographers, Hollywood, like all these guys that are like muscle heads and perfect for me. There wasn't a ton of jealousy though. It was more that because I'd done so much processing, it was that I hadn't gotten to my anger. See? So it wasn't like, oh, I'm afraid of losing you. That really was a little bit of that, but it was more like, oh, this proves that I'm ugly. You have all these other men, and we have an open relationship, so if he wanted to have sex with him, he could. And that would bring up, yeah, I have to be ugly. But as I processed the anger, it's like, then that didn't matter. He could be approached by anybody, and it was like, oh, that's good, babe. I'm happy for you. But for a while, it was a trigger. And then, just I'm telling all, we have an open relationship. So I had in the beginning this, I have to be ugly. So I wouldn't go for attractive people, even on the side. I would go for people that I wasn't that attracted to, because if I go after an attractive person, then it confirms that I'm ugly. So I had to continue to do some of that work even after getting with Chester. But then eventually that fell away. And so once the identities fall away, some of that interest in that sex just fell away because I was doing it to reconfirm that I'm unattractive on some level. That's what it is. It wasn't what I thought it was. I thought it was just I'm enjoying myself. I was enjoying myself because it hit that button. Like, oh, you're confirming that I am unattractive and you're having sex with me. So that confirms something, right? Either that you're unattractive and so we're both unattractive. Seriously, this is how I thought. Or if you're attractive, why do you want to be with me? So if you be with me, that proves that I'm not ugly for a moment. But then if I have to believe I'm ugly, I'll have to go find somebody else. That all ended. I didn't even know what was driving it. That's what was driving it. Trauma. I have to be angry and afraid. And I have to believe I'm ugly so that I'll stay safe and get love from people and play small. And date and have sex with people who are more attractive so I can feel that way. And none of that is here now. So why am I still with Chester? Because that's not the only thing that drew me to him. The trauma was part of it, like his big energy, his attractiveness. But then when you get to know somebody, you love them. There's something much more there than that. But I've had to clear away those things to discover, why am I here? Why do I stay here? I don't have an answer for that other than I love him. We're going to see what happens. I hope this helps. There's one more of these videos coming, I think. I just thought of another subject, and I think this will be the last one. And that will be trust. I'm gonna break that trigger down for you even more to show you how the reason that I'm showing up like this is essentially the trust inquiries after the anger repression work is I don't trust people because I was bullied. I'm going to share that with you, break that down, how that appeared in my life in a number of ways.